A long time ago, somewhere in a quiet town or village, a young girl was born. She lived a simple life, waking up before sunrise, helping her family with their work, playing with friends when she had free time, going to bed early in the evening when the sun went down. Her life might have seemed dull to those who lived much more exciting lives, but for her it was good. She liked living in a quiet town. Even as she grew up, her life didn't change much. Every day she would tend to her vegetable garden, take care of farm animals and collect firewood. After all, this was an ordinary girl living an ordinary life. Then one day something extraordinary happened that changed everything. One night while eating dinner by the light of a hearth fire, she saw a strange sight. A small ball was floating above the flames. At first she thought it was a tiny glowing ember about to drift out into the darkness. But then it kept on floating and floating until it reached the ceiling. She continued to stare at it as it left the room through an open window. Curiosity got the better of her, and she went outside to look round. She soon realized that the small ball of light was a candle flame. And from that moment on, she knew that she wanted one of those candles for herself. When she told her parents what she'd seen, they smiled and said, "You just want a candle because you saw some peasants with them. They use candles instead of oil lamps to light their homes at night because oil lamps can smoke up the house and attract insects. Don't be silly. We don't need candles." "But I do," she said, "and I'm gonna make one myself." Her mother and father just laughed and shook their heads. They thought she was joking, but she wasn't. That very day, she gathered some dried rushes and soaked them in melted tallow. Then she lit the ends of the rushes with a flint and steel fire piston. It was difficult, but eventually she had a candle and she put it on her windowsill so it could give her a little light as she worked after the sun went down. From then on, every evening she would watch the dancing flames and dream of having a bright light like that in her own home. Unfortunately, her parents still thought it was a ridiculous idea. They were afraid that the candle flames would set the roof on fire, and they also worried that she wouldn't know how to extinguish the flames. One day, she heard some travelers talking about how people in faraway lands used candles made out of animal fat or beeswax. These candles burned longer and brighter than the rushlight candles that she made. So she decided to make a candle out of beeswax. Now, it was much harder to get materials for a new candle, so she saved up money from doing extra chores around the house and bought some beeswax from merchants who traveled through the town. Then she started experimenting. She tried wrapping flax and hemp in the beeswax and lighting the ends. But no matter what she did, she couldn't get the candles to burn properly. She didn't give up, though. Instead, she took the pieces of flax and wove them together into a flat wick. Then she poured the wax over the wick and shaped the candle as best she could. Finally, she lit the candle, and it burned brightly and steadily. It was such a beautiful sight that her parents came to see what she was doing. When they saw the flame, they were shocked. Her mother asked, "Where did you learn to make something like that? Who taught you?" "No one," the girl replied. "I learned by trying." Her parents were astonished. They didn't know that she was so clever and inventive. Before this, they'd always thought of her as just an ordinary girl living an ordinary life. But now they were proud of her. From then on, they helped her make more candles, and they even let her melt down old beeswax candles to make new ones. As the years passed, the girl grew older and smarter. She no longer dreamed of having just one candle in her house. Now, she dreamed of bringing candles to everyone in the quiet towns so they could live happier lives. She married a man who loved her and supported her dreams. Together they opened a shop in the quiet town. Their first customers were her parents, who bought several wool candles so they could get rid of their smoky old lamp. Soon other people heard about the shop and its wonderful candles. Villagers came from miles round to buy them. Within a few years, the shop became so successful that the couple was able to hire helpers and expand their product line. They sold not only candles, but also candle holders, snuffers and lighters. Some of their candle holders were simple and cheap, while others were works of art. As the years passed, the couple grew old. They watched as their humble shop changed the world. People who once used oil lamps or candles made of rushlight or beeswax now used candles made of tallow. Their candles burned brighter and cleaner, giving people more light to read, work or simply enjoy their evenings. People were so happy with the candles that they began making candles themselves. Everywhere the couple traveled, they saw new shops selling candles. Most of these shops sold simple white or yellow candles, but some sold candles in different colors. One day they saw a candle shop that sold red candles made of beeswax. The old couple looked at each other and smiled. They knew that the girl who loved candles was now gone, but they were glad that she'd inspired others to bring light into the world. They continued to travel, always looking for new ways to improve candles. They visited candle makers, candle shops, and candle museums. They learned about different types of candles and the history of candle making. They even learned how to make candles out of whale fat. They also learned about how candles are made in other countries. In some places, candles are made by hand, while in others, they're made by machine. They learned about how different types of wax are used to make candles, as well as different types of wicks. They saw candles that were used for religious ceremonies, candles that were used in homes, and candles that were used in businesses. They even saw candles that were used as a form of protest. As the years passed, the old couple shared what they learned with others. They taught people how to make better candles, and they encouraged people to use candles for good. They saw how candles could bring light into dark places, both literally and figuratively. They also saw how candles could be used for evil, such as in the Salem witch trials or during the Holocaust. Despite this, they continued to promote the use of candles, believing that the good they brought into the world outweighed any bad. As the old couple neared the end of their lives, they reflected on how candles had changed the world. They remembered the girl who loved candles and how she'd changed their lives. They knew that she'd be proud of all that they'd accomplished. They also knew that their story wasn't over. Even though they were getting old, there were still people who didn't have access to candles. There were still people who lived in darkness, both literally and figuratively. So, the old couple made one last journey. They traveled to places where people didn't have access to candles, and they shared what they knew. They taught people how to make candles, and they encouraged them to use candles for good. As the sun set on their final day, the old couple felt at peace. They knew that they'd done everything they could to promote the use of candles. They'd brought light into the world, and they'd inspired others to do the same. The next morning, the sun rose on a new day. The old couple was gone, but their legacy lived on. People all over the world continued to use candles to bring light into darkness. They used candles for religious ceremonies, for work, for play, and to honor those who'd passed on. Candles continued to evolve, too. New types of wax were discovered, and new ways of making candles were invented. Candles were used in homes, businesses, and on streets. They were used to celebrate special occasions and to mourn the dead. Through it all, the legacy of the old couple lived on. Their story is one of innovation, hard work, and dedication to a craft. It's also a story of the power of light to bring hope into darkness. The tale of the candle is an important one because it reminds us that even the smallest light can make a big difference. It also reminds us that we have the power to bring light into the world, both literally and figuratively. So, whenever you see a candle flame, take a moment to appreciate the light that it brings. Remember the old couple who shared their love of candles with the world, and remember that you, too, have the power to make a difference. Have you ever lit up a candle and watched the flame dance? It's mesmerizing, isn't it? In that tiny flame, there's a story older than time itself, a tale as old as light. This is the tale of the candle, and this is how light shaped quiet lives. Part 2. Wax of the Bees. In the heart of medieval Europe, tucked away from the bustling market squares and the echoing halls of kings, lived the monks and nuns of the secluded monasteries and convents. Their days were marked by the solemn chime of bells, the whispered prayers, and the scent of incense. And at the center of their daily ritual stood the humble candle, a silent witness to their unwavering faith. The story of candles in these hallowed places takes us back to a time when darkness wasn't just the absence of light, but a tangible presence that needed to be conquered. For these devoted souls, every hour was structured round the interplay of light and shadow. The rising sun signaled the start of morning prayer, while its setting marked the end of the day with evening song. And when the sun dipped below the horizon, they turned to the soft glow of candlelight to keep their spirits high and their rituals unbroken. Amongst the earliest to recognize the power of these flickering flames were the monks of the Western Church. They saw in the candle a potent symbol of the divine light that had entered their lives through Jesus Christ. Just as a single candle could illuminate an entire room, so too did Christ's teachings bring light into the darkness of human existence. It was more than just illumination these candles provided. They became emblems of purity, each waxen taper burning away the impurities of the world to leave behind the sweet fragrance of devotion. As the Middle Ages deepened, so did the reverence for candles. In cathedrals and private chapels, they weren't just used to fight the encroaching darkness. They were carefully placed to accentuate the drama of religious ceremonies. During the solemn rituals of the Mass, candles were positioned to highlight the altar, transforming it into a beacon of faith. Their soft glow cast dancing shadows on the vaulted ceilings and ancient artworks, turning every service into a theatrical performance. But the choice of candles wasn't arbitrary. In fact, it was a deliberate nod to the sanctity of the occasion. These wax candles became the preferred choice in many churches. Not only did they burn longer and brighter than other types of candles, but their very creation was seen as a reflection of divine labor. You see, beeswax was obtained from hives tended by bees, creatures that were themselves seen as symbols of industry and diligence, qualities highly valued by the church. This wasn't just about the light they gave off. It was about the symbolism embedded in every flicker. The use of beeswax in particular was a testament to the church's dedication to upholding the highest standards of devotion, purity, and craftsmanship. For the monks and nuns who meticulously crafted these candles, the process was a form of prayer in itself. Each step, from gathering the materials to lighting the finished product, was infused with a deep sense of reverence. In the quiet hum of the scriptorium, amidst the scratch of quills on parchment, the rhythmic dripping of melted wax echoed the steady beat of their hearts devoted to their craft. Now let's delve into the wax itself, the very lifeblood of these flickering flames. In the medieval world, beeswax held a special place not just because of its unique properties, but also due to the symbolism it carried. Bees, the tiny alchemists of nature, transformed the nectar of flowers into this golden liquid, a process that was seen as a miniature version of the transubstantiation. The central mystery of the Eucharist, just as bread and wine became the body and blood of Christ. Beeswax was transformed into candles, shedding light on the darkness of ignorance and sin. The making of these candles was a communal effort, often done by the monks during the winter months when outdoor work was scarce. The process began with gathering the honeycomb, the bees' labor of love, from the hives hidden away in the monasteries' gardens or the nearby countryside. These hives were often treasured parts of the monastery, cared for with the same diligence as the scriptorium itself. The monks understood that the bees, through their industry, were creating not just honey, but a key ingredient for their devotional practices. Once the honeycomb was retrieved, it was taken to the scriptorium, where the air was filled with the scent of beeswax and the murmur of prayers. Here, the process of candle making began. The wax was carefully melted, strained to remove impurities, then dried over a gentle fire. As the liquid wax cooled, it was ready to be poured into molds, each one a miniature vessel for the captured essence of summer sunshine. But the process didn't end here. The candles, once shaped, needed wicks. These were typically made of braided linen, a material chosen for its strength and simplicity, qualities that mirrored the monk's aspiration. Each wick was threaded through the center of the candle, ready to channel the molten wax into the heart of the flame. Finally, the moment of truth, lighting the candles. A small flame, often from a neighboring candle, was brought close to the wick, and as if by magic, the candle burst into life. The flame danced, casting flickering shadows on the surrounding walls, turning the simple act of lighting a candle into a mini ritual. The finished candles were more than just sources of light. They were tangible expressions of faith, each one a silent prayer taking shape. In the dim glow of the scriptorium, these candles symbolized the light that had come into the lives of the monks. They represented the clarity of faith, the warmth of community, and the unwavering spirit of devotion. Now imagine you're standing in the scriptorium, surrounded by the aroma of beeswax and the faint glow of the candles you've just helped make. Outside, the world is enveloped in darkness, but here, in this quiet room, there's a sense of peace and purpose that transcends the shadows. The tale of the candle continues, and we'll explore more of its chapters in Part 3. But for now, let the flickering flames remind you that even in the darkest of times, the pursuit of knowledge and the light of faith can guide our way. Until then, keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and remember, you are the light of the world. A quick disclaimer. The views expressed in this video are those of the narrator and do not necessarily represent the views of any religious institution or the production team. Our intention is to foster open discussions, and we encourage viewers to engage respectfully with diverse perspectives. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Your support means the world to us and inspires us to keep bringing these stories to life. Don't forget to subscribe for free and hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest releases. If you want to watch the next episode in the series, click on the link on your screen. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and above all, stay illuminated. Thank you for watching. In the flickering glow of candlelight, 3 figures sat gathered round a table. Each was lost in their own thoughts, illuminated by the soft, warm light that danced across their faces, highlighting the fine lines etched by time and toil. Their lives, though seemingly ordinary, were bound together by an invisible thread, a thread spun from the simple yet profound essence of light. In this tale, we delve into the heart of a bygone era where life's simplest pleasures were also its greatest challenges. The year is 1850 and our story unfolds in a modest home much like countless others scattered across the landscape. The hearth, the very soul of the house, stood cold and empty. Winter had arrived in full force, bringing with it long, dark nights that tested the spirit. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows like the bones of some great forgotten giant. But within these four walls, a different kind of giant stood, one born not of bone and sinew, but of pure imagination. Our tale begins here, in the heart of this humble abode, where the giants of legend are slain, not with swords and shields, but with simple tools and unwavering determination. For it is here that the hero of our story, a commoner just like you and me, faced his greatest challenge, keeping the darkness at bay. Now, in this time before electricity, when the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness would fall heavy and early, turning every corner into a potential hazard and every shadow into a lurking beast. It was a world where the absence of light could be as dangerous as its presence was comforting. This wasn't just about needing to see where you were going. It was about creating a sanctuary of safety in an ever-encroaching night. And the weapon of choice in this nightly battle, the humble candle. Imagine, if you will, a time before electric lights, when the sun's journey across the sky dictated the rhythm of daily life. Picture the anticipation as the day waned, the anxious glances towards the fading light, the sudden rush together round the flickering flame of a single candle. In those flickering shadows, stories were told, secrets shared, and lives were lived. The candle flame, suspended in its delicate dance between darkness and dawn, became the stage on which human drama played out. In this story, we'll explore the many ways that candles have touched our lives, the silent heroes that have illuminated our paths through the darkest hours of history. Our first tale transports us to the bustling streets of London in the early 19th century. Here, amidst the clamor of the Industrial Revolution, we find the common home, a microcosm of everyday life. Inside, a working family is preparing for the evening as the last vestiges of daylight fade away. The father, having toiled all day in the smoky depths of a factory, returns home. His wife, a picture of quiet strength, has already begun the nightly ritual. She is making tallow candles, the lifeblood of their home in the war against encroaching darkness. Now, what exactly were these tallow candles? Allow me to introduce you to the humble ingredients that gave light to millions of homes. Our first, tallow, a rendered beef that served as both fuel and flame. Picture this, a byproduct of the butcher's trade. A simple rendering of beef fat over a slow fire, the result, a yellowish substance that would serve as the very lifeblood of their humble candle. Second, the wick, a braided cotton thread that carried the flame and channeled the flow of tallow. Lastly, the candle mold, often no more than a simple tin can or a hollowed-out ball of clay, the womb from which the candles would be born. As the father enters, the flickering light of a single candle casts long shadows on the worn walls. He joins his wife and children in the quiet ritual of lighting the way through the gathering gloom. But this simple act of bringing light into their lives was far from easy. For these tallow candles, while cheap and readily available, were anything but perfect. They cast a sickly yellow glow that strained the eyes and smoked so heavily they often filled the room with an acrid haze, forcing them to spend precious hours airing out the house. Yet, despite their flaws, these tallow candles were the lifeline of the household, pushing back the darkness long enough for work to be done, for stories to be shared, and for life to be lived. But why were these candles so popular in the first place? There we must credit the humble ox, the backbone of the Industrial Revolution. As cities grew and more meat found its way to market, the demand for tallow soared, making it an incredibly cheap fuel source. This popularity, however, was a double-edged sword. While abundant and affordable, tallow candles weren't without their drawbacks. They emitted a horrific stench, blackened ceilings and walls, and most dangerously of all, threatened to engulf the room in flames. This brings us to a pivotal point in our tale, the Great Fire of London of 1666. This catastrophic event, which ravaged a significant portion of London, including a large area of the city's south end, left an indelible mark on the city and its people. You see, the fire, which is believed to have started in a bakery on Pudding Street, spread rapidly, fanned by strong winds and abetted by the ubiquitous tallow candles. These candles, loved for their affordability and availability, became, in the hands of fate, instruments of destruction. Homes and businesses alike went up in flames, leaving thousands without shelter and livelihoods. In the aftermath of this devastating fire, the people of London found themselves at a crossroads. The familiar glow of tallow candles, once a beacon of comfort, now carried with it the spectre of tragedy. But amidst the ashes, the spirit of innovation began to stir. People started to seek alternatives, safer, more reliable sources of light to illuminate their homes. And thus began the gradual decline of tallow candles, a casualty of progress and the relentless march of innovation. And then came the age of oil lamps, offering a cleaner, safer, if slightly more expensive alternative. And yet, despite the emergence of these new technologies, tallow candles held on. For in the grand tapestry of history, innovation doesn't always spell immediate change. Sometimes it takes root and grows, transforming the world in ways that few could have imagined. Fast forward to the mid-19th century, where we find ourselves in a small town in England. A young chemist named Joseph Henry, driven by an insatiable curiosity, was conducting experiments in his makeshift laboratory. One fateful day, he stumbled upon a process that would change the course of history forever: the mass production of stearine. Stearine, a purified form of tallow that burned brighter, cleaner and longer than its unrefined counterpart. This discovery marked the beginning of a new era in lighting, one that would ultimately lead to the demise of tallow candles. Why, you might ask? Well, stearine offered a compelling advantage. Unlike tallow, it didn't produce as much smoke, casting a cleaner, clear light and posing a lesser fire risk. Slowly but surely, stearine candles began to replace their tallow counterparts, marking the beginning of the end for the tallow candle. In the decades that followed, the rise of other lighting methods, such as oil lamps and later gas lighting, dealt a final blow, relegating tallow candles to the annals of history. Yet, even in their twilight, tallow candles left an indelible mark on the world. They played a crucial role in shaping the social norms of the Victorian era. Imagine, if you will, the flickering glow of candlelight dancing on the walls of a drawing room. A young lady carefully adjusts her dress, ensuring that the folds drape just so in the soft, yellow light. Her suitor, seated opposite, leans in, captivated not just by her words, but also by the play of light and shadow across her face. In this intimate setting, the humble tallow candle becomes an unwitting accomplice in the grand drama of romance. These candles played a pivotal role in shaping the social norms of the Victorian era, influencing everything from etiquette to fashion. People dressed in their finest attire and perfumed themselves heavily, knowing they would be seen in the soft, flattering glow of candlelight. The obsession with light even extended to the realm of interior design. Homes were designed with large windows to maximize natural light during the day, and were adorned with mirrors to reflect the glow of candles and gas lamps at night. However, the use of candles wasn't limited to the drawing rooms of the elite. In the humbler settings of the common home, they were an indispensable part of everyday life. The gentle illumination provided by candles allowed families to continue their routines even after the sun had set. It was during these quiet moments that candles became more than just a source of light. They transformed into silent witnesses to life's everyday dramas, the flickering shadows reflecting the joys and sorrows of ordinary people. So remember, the next time you see a candle flame dancing in the darkness, it's not just a pretty sight. It's a link to a rich tapestry of history, culture and human resilience. Candles have been with us through the darkest hours of humanity, providing a comforting glow amidst the chaos. They've shaped our social norms, influenced our art, and most importantly, illuminated our lives. So let the gentle flicker of candlelight remind you that even in the darkest times, there's always a glimmer of light waiting to be found. Have you ever sat in a room full of people, not a peep from anyone, not even a cough or a sniffle? You're wondering, how are these people so quiet? And someone says, they're monks. Monks, like those guys who live in monasteries, secluded from the rest of the world, praying and doing menial labor to get out of paying taxes. That's what most people think about when they hear the word monk. But that's not the whole story. In fact, there's one crucial detail that often gets overlooked. Something that's actually quite literally illuminated. Something that made these guys truly unique, the candle. In this video, we're going to explore how these monks used simple candles to create an entire culture of peace. Let's get into it. When you hear the word candle, you might imagine flickering flames, melted wax, or maybe some sort of fancy birthday party. But to medieval monks, candles were much more than just sources of light. Sure, that was a plus, but that wasn't all they got out of them. For the monks, candles were also timekeepers. They were a way to organize their day-to-day lives and help them keep up with everything they had to do, which included a lot of praying and studying. But how did these candles work as timekeepers? Well, it all started with a simple question. How long is an hour? Because back before smartwatches and iPhones, telling the time was kind of tricky, especially for monks who didn't have clocks. And also, if you were a monk, your idea of an hour was probably a little different than ours. For instance, in the early Middle Ages, his standard hour was typically 8 hours long, twice the length of our modern version. So, they needed a way to tell the time during these longer hours. Enter the humble candle. Monks noticed that a standard candle would burn down by exactly within 1 hour. So they began using them to keep track of time during their prayers and studies. Now, this wasn't super accurate because different candles burned at different rates depending on their size and quality. But it was still better than nothing. To make their candles last as long as possible, monks would use special thick candles specifically designed for tracking time. These candles were typically made from beeswax, which burns slower than other types of wax like tallow, making them ideal for timekeeping. The monks would carefully measure out the wax and then twist it into thin ropes, which were then braided together to make a thicker candle. This way they could get the most amount of time out of each candle. But even with these specially designed candles, the monks needed a way to keep track of how much they burned down. So they came up with another ingenious solution. To keep tabs on their candles, the monks would stick a small metal rod into each one. The rod would have a scale on it that would tell them how much of the candle had melted away. This way they could tell exactly how much time had passed. And it wasn't just for keeping track of hours during prayer. This system also helped the monks stay on schedule during their studies. Back in the Middle Ages, monks spent a lot of time copying manuscripts. It was a painstaking process, but someone had to do it. And guess who was good at it? You guessed it, monks. So they created a special type of candelabras called an ink candle, which they would place near their writing desks. These candles were designed to burn for exactly 8 hours, giving the monks enough time to copy a page of text. Now, you might be thinking this sounds kind of inconvenient. I mean, having to use a special candle for every task. But for the monks, it was a game changer. They no longer had to worry about wasting time or missing a prayer or messing up the order of their studies. Their candles took care of everything. But it wasn't just about efficiency. Using candles to keep track of time was also a way for monks to connect with the divine. For Christians, light has always been a symbol of hope and guidance. By using candles to keep track of time during their prayers and studies, the monks were literally bringing God into their everyday lives. They were surrounded by light as they worshipped and learned, which helped them feel connected to the divine. It wasn't just the monks themselves who benefited from this system either. The light from their candles also helped preserve important manuscripts that would otherwise have been lost to time. See, back in the Middle Ages, books were expensive and rare. Most people couldn't afford them, let alone read them. So monks would copy manuscripts by hand to spread the word of God. But this process was slow and dangerous. If a fire broke out, all those precious texts could go up in flames. To prevent this, monasteries would keep their most valuable manuscripts in a safe place, lit by candlelight. This way they were protected from fire and also easily accessible for monks to copy. In fact, many monasteries had special candle clocks that would automatically extinguish the candles after a certain amount of time. This prevented fires while also ensuring that the monks stayed on schedule. But perhaps the most interesting thing about the monastic glow is how it changed over time. As the Middle Ages were on, the design of candles changed too. At first, monks used simple taper candles, which were just long, skinny sticks of wax. But as technology improved, they switched to making molded candles, which were shaped like cylinders. This made them easier to use and also allowed them to burn for longer periods of time. Monasteries even experimented with different types of wax, trying to find the perfect balance of cost, availability, and burn time. Eventually, they settled on a mixture of beeswax and tallow, which worked well for their purposes. And as for the wicks, well, they went through quite an evolution. At first, monks would simply dip their candles in a linen or hemp wick. But later they started using braided cotton wicks, which burned more evenly and produced less smoke. This constant tinkering and innovation didn't just apply to candles, though. The monks also developed new ways to keep track of time using water clocks, candle clocks, and even mechanical clocks. But no matter what new technology they adopted, the basic principles remained the same. Just like their candles, they needed a way to keep track of time and stay on schedule. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might be wondering why we stopped using candles as a source of light and timekeeping. After all, they're cheap, easy to make, and pretty effective. Well, it turned out that there are some drawbacks to using candles. First, they're not the most efficient source of light. Only about 5% of the energy in a candle flame is actually visible light. The rest is wasted heat. Second, candles aren't the most precise timekeepers. As we mentioned earlier, different candles burn at different rates, so it can be hard to keep track of time accurately. Finally, candles are a bit dangerous. If you leave them unattended, they can start fires. And believe it or not, Many famous literary works have plots that revolve around candles starting fires. Think Romeo and Juliet or The Great Gatsby. As technology advanced, we found better sources of light and timekeeping. For example, wall lamps were more efficient than candles, and mechanical clocks were more precise than either candles or water clocks. But despite these advancements, the candle stuck around for centuries. Even today, people use candles for light and timekeeping, although admittedly it's mostly for light. So there you have it. The next time you see a candle flickering away, just remember that it may seem like a simple object, but it played a major role in shaping human history. From helping monks stay on schedule to providing light for countless prayers and studies, the candle truly is a remarkable invention. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go pray for 8 hours. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't have 8 hours to spare. Thanks for watching. Hey, like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you disliked it. Check out our other videos. Comment below with video suggestions. And don't forget to subscribe. It's free, in the flickering glow of candlelight. You're sharing stories with friends, savoring the first bite of a delicious meal, or maybe celebrating the beginning of a new life with your partner. Whether you realize it or not, these moments are all made more meaningful by the humble candle, a beacon of light that has shaped our lives in ways both big and small for thousands of years. Welcome to the series The Tale of the Candle, where we explore how one simple invention sparked innovation, inspired art, and illuminated some of history's greatest mysteries. Join us as we go back in time to uncover the secrets behind this timeless treasure and see how it left its mark on our world. So grab a cozy blanket, dim the lights, and get ready for an illuminating journey. We often take for granted the little things in life that make us feel connected to those who came before us, traditions that have been passed down through generations. One such tradition is the use of candles to mark special occasions like weddings, feasts, and festivals. But have you ever stopped to wonder how candles became such an integral part of these momentous events? What is it about their flickering flames that makes them so synonymous with celebration, and what role do they play in connecting us to our past? To answer these questions, we need to look no further than the ancient civilizations that first harnessed the power of the candle. Picture yourself in ancient Egypt around 3000 BC. Life was vastly different then than it is now. And yet there were similarities. People still found joy in celebrations and used candles to bring light to ceremonies. In fact, the ancient Egyptians may have been the first to associate candles with weddings. They believed that the flickering flame could ward off evil spirits and bring good luck to the newlyweds. This tradition then spread to other cultures, each adding their own unique twist to the ceremony. Fast forward to ancient Rome, where candles were used not only to adorn the bride's hair, but also to decorate the altar where the vows were exchanged. As the Roman Empire expanded, so did the use of candles in wedding ceremonies. During the Middle Ages, candles played a crucial role in religious ceremonies, serving as a symbol of faith and hope in dark times. It wasn't until the 18th century that candles started losing their prominent position in the church. However, they continued to be used for other special occasions. Throughout history, candles have played a significant role in religious festivals such as Christmas and Easter. For instance, during the Christian holiday season, many churches use large numbers of candles to symbolize the light of Christ that came into the world to dispel the darkness. In Jewish traditions, candles are lit to welcome the Sabbath, marking the transition from workdays to a time of rest and worship. These customs not only added a touch of solemnity to the festivities, but also served as a reminder of the values and beliefs held dear by different communities. But candles weren't just confined to religious practices. They also found their place in everyday life. especially in the realm of lighting up the night. Early forms of candles were made from materials like animal fat and plant oils, which were poured into small containers or wrapped in cloth to create rudimentary candles. As technology advanced, so did the sophistication of candle making. In the 18th century, candles made from beeswax and tallow, rendered animal fat, became popular in Europe. These candles burned brighter and longer than their predecessors, making them a preferred choice for both practical and ceremonial purposes. This era also saw the introduction of candle molds, which allowed for the mass production of candles in various shapes and sizes. The standardization of candles led to the creation of different colors, allowing people to express themselves through these simple sources of light. Colored candles became a symbol of wealth and power, with the aristocracy using them to display their status. At the same time, cheaper alternatives like rush lights and oil lamps remained the primary lighting options for the common folk. As we step into the 19th century, we witness a pivotal moment in the history of candles. The discovery of paraffin wax, a byproduct of oil refining, revolutionized candle making. Paraffin wax, derived from petroleum, offered several advantages over previous candle materials. It burned more efficiently, produced less smoke, and was easier to manufacture. This innovation marked a significant shift in the candle industry, paving the way for mass production and affordability. Suddenly, candles were not just a luxury item, but an accessible source of light for homes and businesses alike. The Industrial Revolution further boosted candle production, with factories churning out candles at an unprecedented rate. By the end of the 19th century, candles had become an essential part of daily life, illuminating the streets and homes of countless families. However, as we entered the 20th century, candles faced stiff competition from electric light. While electric lighting offered more convenience and efficiency, candles continued to hold a special place in people's hearts. Today, candles are primarily associated with celebrations, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere for weddings, anniversaries, and holidays. They serve as a reminder of traditions that have stood the test of time, connecting us to the past while adding a touch of elegance to our present. But candles aren't just about lighting up our spaces. They also play a significant role in our emotional well-being. The act of lighting a candle can be therapeutic, allowing us to focus on the present moment and let go of our worries. The soft flickering light creates a relaxing ambience, helping us unwind and de-stress after a long day. Furthermore, candles have the power to evoke memories and create new ones. The scent of a burning candle can trigger a flood of emotions, transporting us back to a specific time and place. For example, the smell of cinnamon and pine might bring back cherished memories of Christmas celebrations from our childhood, while the scent of fresh flowers could remind us of a special occasion like a wedding or a birthday party. In this way, candles become more than just a source of light. They become keepers of our memories, preserving and celebrating the moments that make life so precious. For centuries, candles have been an integral part of our lives, shaping our traditions and adding a touch of magic to special occasions. From the ancient Egyptians who used them in wedding ceremonies to the modern day, candles have come a long way, yet their significance remains constant. Whether illuminating a dark room or setting the mood for a romantic dinner, candles continue to bring warmth and ambience to our lives. But what sets them apart from other sources of light? Perhaps it is the flickering flame that dances in the breeze or the subtle scent that fills the air. Whatever the reason, candles hold a unique place in our hearts, reminding us of the beauty and simplicity that can be found in the everyday moments of life. So, the next time you light up a candle, take a moment to appreciate its rich history and the joy it brings to our lives. Let its gentle glow illuminate not only your surroundings, but also your spirit, and may it serve as a reminder of the endless possibilities that await us in the darkness. Have you ever thought about how candles have impacted your life? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more enlightening tales. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the fascinating world of candles. Keep your flames alive and your spirits high. What do you make? You're a weaver, a cobbler, a carpenter. In medieval Europe, your trade defined your social standing. Tradesmen, like carpenters, were generally higher on the societal rungs than laborers like weavers. But all these trades relied on one key ingredient, or lamps and candles for light in the dark. And while many people used these simple light sources, few understood the lengths to which science and technology had to be stretched in order to create them. This is the tale of the candle, and today, we're going to see how light shaped quiet lives. It's me, and this is Life Noggin. Now, before we get to how the candle changed lives, let's talk about what exactly a candle is and how it works. See, there are three main components of a candle: the wick, the wax, and the flame. These three things alone may seem pretty basic. However, each part serves a very important purpose. Let's start with the wick. The wick acts as a conduit for the fuel or wax to be drawn up and away from the candle. It's also responsible for producing the light itself, but more on that later. While the oldest recorded candles had plant wicks, by the Middle Ages, flax and hemp were preferred. These materials burned longer and produced less smoke. Now, speaking of burning, the fuel source of a candle can come in several different forms, including tallow, beeswax, spermaceti, wheel oil, and paraffin wax. Each of these fuels has their own pros and cons, but they all have one thing in common. They burn at a fairly high temperature, hot enough to vaporize the fuel and ignite it. And then finally, there's the flame. As the fuel is drawn up the wick and into the flame, it combusts or burns. This process heats the liquid fuel, causing it to turn into a gas or vapor. The hot vapor then leaves the flame and makes its way back down the wick to be liquefied again by the unlit wax. It's this continuous cycle of vaporizing fuel that makes the flame burn so steadily. Now, while we might take candles for granted today, it wasn't easy to harness this scientific process. For centuries, candles were an expensive luxury good. In fact, during the Middle Ages, candles were taxed because they were considered a luxury item. Not only did the materials used to create candles cost a lot of money, but the process of making them was dangerous and laborious. However, once they were invented, candles quickly became the most popular source of illumination around. This is likely due to the fact that they were much cleaner and easier to use than other forms of lighting, such as oil lamps or torches. Now, as the demand for candles grew throughout the Middle Ages, so did the number of artisans who made them. Candle makers or chandlers could be found all over Europe, and their craft came into varieties: dipping and molding. Both methods involved dipping wicks in molten wax until they reached the desired thickness. Dippers would then string the candles up to dry. Once they were finished, whereas molders would pour the wax into molds to set. Molding allowed the chandler to produce candles in mass, and therefore this method was typically reserved for larger shops. Dipping, on the other hand, was better suited for smaller workshops and market stalls. Additionally, dipping was often done by hand, whereas molding used more sophisticated tools. No matter what method they used, though, chandlers had to be experts at their craft. If the candles were too thick, They wouldn't burn properly and would simply waste away. On the other hand, if they were too thin, the candle would burn too quickly and the customer would be left with a stubby little candle that didn't last very long. Each individual candle had to be carefully inspected, too. Any flaws in the shape of the candle could cause it to burn unevenly and produce a weak, flickering flame. Chandlers had to be careful not to create candles that were too big for their wicks either. If the wick was too small for the amount of wax, it would burn quickly and the candle would go out. This practice required experience and skill, and most chandlers learned their trade by working under another chandler. In fact, the apprenticeship system played a huge role in the training of chandlers. In France, for example, it was common for young boys to be apprenticed off to a chandler for 7 years. For the first 2 years of the apprenticeship, the boy would work in the shop for free. He'd assist the master chandler in his work and learn the basics of the trade. After 2 years, the apprentice would begin to receive a salary, but he was still required to live with the chandler and his family. The final 2 years of the apprenticeship, the chandler would travel with the apprentice to different markets to sell his wares. By the end of the 7 years, the apprentice would hopefully have learned everything he needed to know to become a master chandler himself. Becoming a master chandler was no easy feat, though. In some places, chandlers were required to pass a series of tests in order to be certified. These tests were designed to ensure that the chandler had the knowledge and skills necessary to produce high-quality candles. In France, for example, the tests included a written exam on the properties of wax and a practical exam in which the chandler had to produce a candle of a certain weight and quality. Once a chandler had passed the tests, he would be granted a certificate that allowed him to practice his trade. Despite the hard work and long hours, being a chandler could be a profitable business. In fact, during the Middle Ages, chandlers were generally higher on the societal rungs than other tradesmen. This was due to the fact that candles were considered a luxury item and chandlers were often employed by the wealthy to make custom candles for special occasions. Not only were these custom candles more profitable than the ones sold at markets, they were also more prestigious. Chandlers who made candles for the rich and famous were often in high demand and could charge top dollar for their work. However, chandlers weren't just making candles for the rich and famous. During the Middle Ages, candles were used by everyone who could afford them, and chandlers were an important part of everyday life. Their candles provided light for homes, businesses, and streets. They were even used in religious ceremonies and by physicians. But that doesn't mean the job was all fun and games. Making candles was hard work and chandlers had to be strong and nimble to keep up with demand. They were constantly lifting heavy pots of molten wax, dipping candles in and out of the wax and packing them up to be shipped or sold. Chandlers also had to be careful not to get burned. One wrong move and they could find themselves with serious blisters on their hands and arms. Despite the danger, though, most chandlers took pride in their work. They were creating something that brought light into people's lives. In a time when darkness was all-consuming, that was no small feat. Today, candles are still used for a variety of purposes, from providing light to adding ambience to a room. And while they're no longer considered a luxury item, they're still an important part of our culture. So, the next time you light up a candle, take a moment to appreciate the science and history that went into that simple act. So, what's your favorite candlelit memory? Tell us about it in the comments section below. And while you're down there, make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button because it really helps us out. Subscribe to our channel. We have a ton of videos on all kinds of cool topics. And don't forget to follow us on social media to get even more from Life Noggin. That's all for this episode. Have you ever held a candle in your hand and watched it flicker? Have you ever sat in the dark, listening to its gentle crackle as it melts away, leaving only wax and wick behind? Have you ever stopped to think about how this simple creation has shaped our lives? In this tale, I'd like to share with you the story of a candle. It's not just a random one. Oh, no, this is the very first candle that was ever made, the very first light that chased away the darkness. Let's delve into this ancient tale together. For many centuries, people lived without any artificial lighting. They went about their daily activities during daylight hours and slept when the sun went down. Darkness wasn't something they feared. Instead, they accepted it as a natural part of life. There were no street lamps or ceiling fixtures to illuminate their homes. If someone needed to use their house at night, they would simply use a torch. These early lanterns were made by placing a flame inside hollowed-out rock or a container made of clay. But carrying these torches round wasn't always convenient. Imagine holding a rock or a pot over your head to light the way. That's why people started looking for a better solution. And then one day, by pure chance, someone discovered the secret of the candle. The exact date isn't known, but scientists believe it happened between 3000 and 2000 BC. Back in those days, people had figured out how to make things like cups and bowls from materials like clay and stone. But making a candle was a whole different ballgame. It required a special type of technology that involved melting animal fat, gathering plant fibers, and mastering the art of weaving them together to create a sturdy wick. This innovation marked a significant milestone in human history. The first candles weren't just about providing light. They symbolized comfort, safety, and a way to conquer the darkness that had always loomed over human existence. As the flickering flames danced, dispelling the shadows, people realized they no longer had to be solely ruled by the sun and the moon. They could now create their own light. This discovery gradually transformed the way people lived. It extended their active hours and brought warmth to their homes. No more hiding in the shadows. The humble candle had ushered in a new era where darkness was no longer a constant companion. These early candles might look a bit different from what we have today. Instead of using wax, they were made with animal fats like tallow. And instead of a braided cotton wick, they used a wick made from flax or other plant fibers. Even so, the basic principle remained the same. A flame-sustained biowick immersed in melted fat, casting a soft glow and banishing the gloom. As the art of candle-making improved, people started experimenting with different shapes and sizes. Some candles were shaped like animals, while others resembled flowers or everyday objects. During the Middle Ages, candles even took on religious significance. Special candles were made for religious ceremonies, often in the shape of large tapers. These candles burned slowly and steadily, symbolizing faith and devotion. Today, candles are an integral part of our lives. Whether it's a cozy dinner, a romantic date, or a moment of quiet reflection, candles can set the perfect ambience. They come in various shapes, sizes, colors, and scents, each adding its unique charm to our surroundings. Now let's focus on a particular type of candle that holds a special place in our story, the lantern. Lanterns are essentially candles enclosed in a protective case, allowing them to be carried round, hung up or placed on the move. They have played a crucial role in various aspects of human activity throughout history. Imagine being on a ship sailing across the vast ocean, the salty wind whipping through your hair, the waves crashing against the hull. Suddenly, the sky darkens, clouds gather, and before you know it, his storm is upon you. The strong winds threaten to capsize the vessel, and the waves toss the ship like a toy in a bathtub. Fear grips the sailors as they struggle to keep control of the ship. In such perilous situations, the captain reaches for the kerosene lamp, a beacon of hope amidst the raging storm. With a steady hand, he lights the lamp, and a warm glow emanates from it, chasing away the darkness that threatens to engulf them. For the sailors, the kerosene lamp is more than just a source of light. It's a symbol of resilience and survival. It provides a sense of security, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, there is always a light worth fighting for. The lamp becomes a guiding star, helping them navigate through the turbulent waters until the storm eventually subsides and the sun peeks out from behind the clouds once again. In the depths of the stormy night, the kerosene lamp stands as a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the unwavering spirit of exploration and adventure. Its gentle glow serves as a reminder that no matter how challenging the journey may be, there is always light at the end of the tunnel, waiting to guide us home. Lanterns have been used for centuries to light the way for travelers on dark roads. Their portability allowed travelers to navigate unfamiliar paths with ease, reducing the risks associated with walking in the dark. Carriage lamps have also been used for centuries to light the way for horse-drawn carriages, ensuring that drivers could see where they were going and avoid obstacles on the road. In the days before electricity, lanterns played a crucial role in maritime navigation. Ships relied on lanterns placed at strategic points along coastlines to help guide them safely to their destinations. These lanterns were often placed on tall towers or cliffs, making them visible from miles across the sea. They served as beacons of hope for sailors, offering a clear indication of land and providing a sense of security during long voyages. But it's not just about illuminating the path ahead. Lanterns have a magical way of making the ordinary extraordinary. Imagine sitting round a campfire with friends and family, the soft glow of the lantern casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees. The warm light creates a cozy atmosphere, inviting laughter, storytelling, and the sharing of ideas. It's a moment of connection and togetherness, a reminder of the simple pleasures in life. And then there are the quiet moments. Picture yourself curled up with a good book, the soft light of a lantern casting a pool of illumination on the pages. The gentle flicker of the flame creates a sense of tranquility, allowing you to get lost in the story. It's a perfect moment of solitude, a chance to escape into another world. The flickering glow of a lantern has also played a vital role in artistic expression throughout history. Painters have been captivated by its ability to create dramatic shadows and silhouettes, adding depth and intrigue to their work. The soft, diffused light has inspired countless masterpieces, transporting viewers to different times and places. In literature, the lantern has often been used as a symbol of hope and enlightenment. Writers have woven tales where the lantern serves as a guide, leading characters through darkness, both literal and figurative. The light emanating from the lantern symbolizes the power of knowledge and the pursuit of truth in a world filled with shadows. In theaters and performance arts, the lantern has found a special place. Stage productions often utilize lanterns to create mood, setting the tone for different scenes and enhancing the overall theatrical experience. The soft, controllable light allows actors to express themselves more vividly, bringing stories to life. But the magic of lanterns doesn't end there. They have also been incorporated into traditional crafts and festivities, adding a touch of whimsy and wonder to celebrations. From Chinese paper lanterns illuminating festivals to Japanese lantern floats gracing special occasions, these vibrant displays of light have become cherished cultural traditions. So, the next time you find yourself in the presence of a lantern, take a moment to appreciate its beauty and the profound impact it has had on our lives. Whether it's the soft glow illuminating your path, the flickering light dancing in your favorite book, or the vibrant colors adding cheer to a celebration, the lantern continues to enchant us with its timeless appeal. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today's tale. If you enjoyed this enchanting journey through the world of candles and lanterns, don't forget to show your support. Your encouragement means the world to us. Stay curious and keep an eye out for the magical touches of light that illuminate our lives. All right, everybody, welcome to my channel. Today, we're gonna look at the 8th episode of the Tales of the Candle series, which is called The Candle in Literature. If you are new to this series, then please do check out episode 1 for more information on what the heck we're doing here. I thought that looking at candles in literature would be a fun way to touch on the broader cultural significance of candles throughout history, because I know they've been used in religious ceremonies, in science experiments, and in plenty of works of art. But today, we're refocusing specifically on how candles have been depicted in poetry and novels, and what those depictions can tell us about the society that produced them. In general, candles feature very prominently in Western literature dating back to antiquity. And there are several reasons for this. First of all, candlelight was associated with civilization and literacy, so it made sense that these tools would feature heavily in written works. Additionally, candles were often expensive and time-consuming to make, so they became symbols of wealth and sophistication. And finally, candles provided a relatively safe and controlled source of light in an otherwise dark world, so it makes sense that they would also come to represent knowledge and enlightenment. There's a great example of this in Shakespeare's Othello. In Act 1, Scene 7, Desdemona says, "Oh, that the world had a candle by my Zaph, so worthy to be set in every bort and window," suggesting that her love for Othello is so radiant that it should be displayed for all the world to see. This comparison between candles and beauty isn't just limited to literature. In fact, one of the most popular candle scents to this day is called white flowers, which is basically a way of capturing the fleeting essence of beauty through scent. Candles have long been associated with the passage of time, both in a positive and negative sense. On one hand, they're obviously useful for measuring the length of a single day, and their use in religious ceremonies meant that they also became connected to the cyclical nature of time in the seasons and the rebirth of life. But candles are also associated with death, both because of their use in funerals, but also because of their connection to the afterlife. In Christian tradition, for instance, the light of a candle represents the soul of the departed, which ascends into heaven when the candle goes out. This explains why people traditionally lit up a white candle to signify a prayer for a soulless repose, or why black candles are used for banishing spells in modern Wicca. One of the most famous literary passages featuring a candle comes from Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. When Catherine Earnshaw lies dying, she asks Nellie Dean to hold a candle near her as she passes away. And then, upon discovering that Heathcliff is near, she suddenly revives, but dies again after seeing that he's only come to say goodbye. So in this passage, the candle becomes a symbol of hope, but also of the transient nature of life itself. As a tool of the occult, candles have become increasingly popular in modern times, thanks in part to the work of ceremonial magicians like Aleister Crowley and Diane Fortune. These individuals helped establish the use of candles in astrology, divination, and other forms of magic. Candles are still widely used by Wiccans and other pagans today for a variety of purposes, such as healing, protection, and love. Let's take a look at some of the spells you can cast with candles. There's a spell called the Floating Candle, which involves lighting a candle and then placing it inside a jar or bowl while saying a few words of power. The idea is that once the candle has been placed inside, it will start to float above the rim of the container, then eventually go out. This is usually seen as a sign that your magic has been successful. Another common candle spell is called the wish candle. To perform this spell, you first need to write down your wish on a piece of paper, then roll it up and place it inside a hollowed-out candle. Then you light the candle and visualize your wish coming true. This is a very simple but effective spell that can be used for pretty much anything, from attracting love and money to improving your health or career. Candles have also played an important role in science, most notably in the discovery of oxygen by Joseph Priestley in 1774. Priestley was experimenting with various substances that could be used to light candles, and he noticed that one particular substance, which he called dephlogisticated air, was able to keep a candle burning brightly and steadily. It turned out that this substance was actually pure oxygen, and Priestley's discovery paved the way for our modern understanding of combustion and respiration. Now that we've looked at some of the uses of candles, let's take a closer look at their depiction in literature. As we've already mentioned, candles are often used as symbols in literature, and one of the most common symbols associated with candles is that of time. In Shakespeare's Macbeth, for instance, the three witches are stirring a cauldron and one of them says, "Double, double toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble." In this passage, the witches are calling upon the fire to burn brightly and bubble over, and they're using a cauldron to contain the fire, much like a candle. In this case, the candle serves as a metaphor for the witches' magical powers and their ability to control the natural world around them. Another common symbol associated with candles is that of beauty, as we saw in Othello. When Desdemona compares herself to a candle, she's highlighting her own radiance and beauty. And this association between candles and beauty is also evident in other works of literature, such as John Keats's Ode to a Nightingale. In this poem, the nightingale's song is so beautiful that it's compared to the flickering flame of a candle. But candles aren't just associated with positive things like beauty and time. They can also symbolize darkness and death. In Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, for instance, the raven's rival coincides with the death of the narrator's hope and happiness. And this change is marked by the gradual dimming of a candle flame. In this case, the candle serves as a metaphor for the narrator's mental state and his descent into madness. So candles have a long history of use in literature, and they continue to be popular today. Their use as a symbol of beauty, time, and even death adds depth and meaning to literary works. If you want to learn more about the cultural significance of candles, then I highly recommend checking out an article published by the British Journal for the History of Science called The Candle in Western Culture by C. Margaret College. This article explores the history of candles from their ancient origins to their modern uses, and it covers everything from their religious significance to their role in scientific discovery. You can also check out an article called A History of Candles from the Smithsonian Institute, which provides a nice overview of candles and their importance throughout history. Or if you prefer audio, then you can always listen to a podcast episode from BBC Radio for a called The Curious Origins of Candles, which explores the history of candles and their impact on human civilization. If you'd like to support this series and allow me to continue making videos like this one, then please consider supporting me through donations, and if you're not already subscribed, then please don't forget to click the subscribe button before you leave today. And have you ever stood in awe of a chandelier, not just for its beauty, but also the impact it can have on a room? Today, we're going to talk about how chandeliers have changed from being an instrument of light to becoming instruments of splendor and status. Welcome to the next episode of the series, The Tale of the Candle, where we explore the history of candles. Make sure to check out previous episodes if you haven't already. In our last episode, we talked about how the invention of the snuffers and the candle tray helped establish candles as a popular source of light in parlors and drawing rooms. As candles grew in popularity, people wanted more light. A single candle might be good for reading or sewing, but for larger rooms or social events, one candle just wouldn't cut it. Enter the Age of Enlightenment, which brought with it new ideas and innovations, including better ways to illuminate our surroundings. Before we get started, remember to support us by liking this video. And now let's begin. Early multiple source lighting. One way to increase the amount of light produced by candles was to use multiple candles. Ancient civilizations such as the Greeks and Romans used multiple candles on elaborate candelabra made from bronze or silver. These were often used in religious ceremonies or special occasions. During the Middle Ages, large halls in castles and cathedrals used wall sconces that held multiple candles. While these methods worked, they took up a lot of space or were affixed to walls, making them less flexible than people would like. They also required frequent relighting when the wind blew out the flames. The sconce revolution. During the Renaissance, candles became a fixture in homes and public buildings. To make the most of their flickering glow, wealthy Europeans began experimenting with wall-mounted candle holders known as sconces. These were designed with multiple arms to hold all candles at once, allowing for a more even illumination of a room. Sconces could be made from a variety of materials, from simple wood to ornate gilt wood or even precious metals like silver. Some were even designed to hold up to 12 candles, casting a warm, inviting glow over the walls and ceilings. This allowed people to use smaller candles, making them cheaper and easier to come by. But while these were great for ambience, they still weren't the best choice for those who wanted brighter light for reading or other activities. Enter the candelabra. By the 17th century, elaborate metal candelabra became popular in grand halls and dining rooms. These freestanding structures could hold numerous candles, sometimes reaching up to 3 tiers, creating a majestic spectacle that added a touch of royalty to any gathering. These were typically made of heavy metals like brass, iron or bronze, and were highly decorative with intricate designs that were meant to impress guests. The larger size of these candles meant that they burned longer and brighter, providing ample light for conversation and activities. However, their bulk and weight made them difficult to move around, limiting their versatility and requiring sturdy, stable surfaces to prevent toppling over. Additionally, the cost of producing these larger candles could become expensive, impacting their affordability for some. A new era of elegance, the birth of the chandelier. The demand for a more versatile, elegant solution led to the creation of the chandelier. Unlike the bulky candelabra, chandeliers were suspended from the ceiling, freeing up floor space and making them easier to move around. Early chandeliers were often simple affairs consisting of a few candles placed on a wrought iron frame. However, as time went on, they became increasingly ornate, reflecting the wealth and status of their owners. During the Rococo period in the 18th century, chandeliers were often decorated with playful designs featuring flowers, shells, and other natural motifs. Later, during the neoclassical period, they took on a more formal, stately look with straight lines and classical motifs. The Industrial Revolution in the 19th century led to the mass production of chandeliers, making them more affordable and accessible to a wider range of people. Materials like crystal and glass became more common, offering more affordable alternatives to the expensive metalwork of earlier periods. During this time, chandeliers became more than just a source of light. They were seen as symbols of wealth and power, often displayed in grand hotels, theaters, and ballrooms. Some became true works of art, featuring intricate hand-blown glass or bronze sculptures. The Crystal Age. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a surge in the popularity of crystal chandeliers. The invention of lead crystal by George Ravenscroft in 1674 led to an explosion of intricate designs and sparkling beauty. Crystal chandeliers became the epitome of elegance and sophistication, gracing the interiors of palaces, mansions, and grand hotels. Their multifaceted prisms refracted and dispersed light in a dazzling display, transforming any room into a wonderland of shimmering reflections. Notable crystal chandelier makers such as Louis Comfort, Tiffany & Co., and the Baxter Company created stunning pieces that became highly sought after by collectors and interior designers. These masterpieces not only illuminated spaces but also served as focal points, drawing admiration and awe from all who beheld them. Chandeliers in the modern age. In recent decades, chandeliers have continued to evolve, incorporating new technologies and reflecting current design trends. Contemporary chandeliers feature a wide range of styles, from minimalist and industrial to vintage and eclectic. Some incorporate natural elements such as wood or stone, while others feature bold, unconventional shapes. With the advent of electric lighting, chandeliers can now be equipped with bulbs of various wattages, allowing for greater control over the amount of light produced. This flexibility has made them suitable for a wider range of applications, including commercial spaces. Chandeliers are no longer limited to traditional settings and can be found in restaurants, retail stores, and even outdoor spaces such as patios and gardens. They continue to serve as a means of creating ambience, setting the mood and adding a touch of glamour to any environment. Light as spectacle. Throughout history, light has played a crucial role in human civilization. From the earliest flickering flames to the advent of electric lights, our relationship with light has been one of both necessity and wonder. Chandeliers, in particular, have captured our fascination as they transform ordinary spaces into extraordinary spectacles. Their ability to illuminate and decorate simultaneously has made them not only practical lighting fixtures, but also works of art. As we continue to explore new technologies and design trends, chandeliers will undoubtedly continue to evolve, reflecting our changing needs and desires for illumination and aesthetics. While we typically think of chandeliers as purely decorative elements, they've had a profound impact on society and culture throughout history. Their influence can be seen in art, literature, and even music. For example, composers such as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Hector Berlioz have incorporated chandeliers into their works, using them as metaphors for elegance and sophistication. In literature, authors like Charles Dickens and Jane Austen have described chandeliers in their novels, adding a sense of atmosphere and setting to their stories. The flickering glow of candles has inspired countless artists, from the Impressionists who captured the play of light and shadow to contemporary artists who incorporate chandeliers into their sculpture. And installations. From grand palaces to intimate parlors, chandeliers have been present in many pivotal moments in history, from royal weddings to romantic first dates. They have set the stage for countless memories and experiences. The tale of the candle has been one of innovation, creativity, and an unquenchable desire for progress. Now that you know how chandeliers evolved from multiple candles on a tray to the sparkling spectacle they are today, ask yourself this: what would your dream chandelier look like? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to show your support. We hope you've enjoyed learning about the fascinating world of candles with us. There are certain things in life that I just don't think we spend nearly enough time appreciating. The sun's rays warming our skin, a good book and a hot cup of tea. But there is something else, a simple thing that has always made me feel inexplicably calm and content. It's a simple candle flame, and it's what it represents. Not just a flame, but the light it gives off, chasing away darkness and filling a space with a warm glow. But I wonder, do you ever look at a candle flame and ask yourself, well, how the heck does it work? What is going on here? And if you are wondering about this, then I have good news for you, because today we are going to answer exactly that. For thousands of years, people have used candles to add light to dark spaces. They can be romantic or relaxing or even help set a mood. But in order to appreciate what a candle brings to our lives, it helps to understand what's happening when we light one. Let's start with the basics. A typical candle consists of three main parts: the wax or fuel, the wick, and the container. These elements are all designed to work together and make that beautiful flame possible. Let's take the wax, for example. Most candles use some type of wax or oil as their fuel source. This could be anything from the more traditional beeswax to paraffin wax or soy wax. Each material will burn slightly differently, but the end result is the same, the flame. Now let's focus on that little piece of string or fabric known as the wick. The wick is more than just a string dangling from the top of the candle. It is actually an essential component of the combustion process. When lit, the wick acts like a bridge between the fuel and the air. It draws the liquid wax upwards by capillary action and feeds it to the flame. Think of it like the straw in your favorite summer drink, except instead of sucking up soda, it's bringing the wax to the party. Finally, we have the container, often overlooked, but no less important for that. The container, whether it's made of wax, glass, or some other material, holds everything together and provides a safe space for the combustion to occur. It also helps regulate the heat and prevents the flame from spreading too wide. Now that we've met the main characters, let's see how they interact to produce that enchanting glow we all know and love. The magic happens when you light the wick, but it's actually a slow burn, both literally and figuratively. The initial flame is small and weak until it generates enough heat to melt the wax around the wick. As the wax turns into a liquid, it gets drawn up the wick and forms a pool of hot liquid at the top. This pool is what eventually creates the larger, brighter flame we associate with candles. What's happening here is basically the first law of thermodynamics in action. Heat and work are interchangeable. If you add heat to a system, the particles move faster. In the case of the candle wax, the heat from the flame causes the molecules in the wax to move faster. They collide with other wax molecules, causing them to move faster as well. This increased movement makes the wax less dense, and it starts to float upwards. At the same time, the heat from the flame melts more wax, creating a continuous cycle that sucks the liquid wax up the wick like spaghetti sauce on a fork. But wait a minute. We know that wax gets converted to a liquid before it can be pulled up the wick. So how does lighting the wick even work? Well, it turns out that the initial spark or flame doesn't immediately turn the wax into a liquid. Instead, it heats the solid wax near the wick until it reaches its ignition temperature. At this point, the wax molecules have enough energy to break their bonds and enter a state called vaporization. They transform from a liquid to a gas. Now, this invisible vapor is what gets ignited by the initial flame, not the solid wax directly. Once the vapor is burning, the heat generated sustains the process, melting more wax, which gets converted into vapor, keeping the flame alive. Okay, now that we have a better understanding of what goes into making a candle flame, let's talk a bit more about the flame itself. The dancing yellow tongue of fire we see is actually a complex interplay of hot gases and tiny solid particles. Let's start with the yellow color. Candles produce a yellow flame rather than, say, blue, because of the incomplete combustion of the fuel. When there's not enough oxygen for all the fuel, the flame turns yellow. This is because the burning wax molecules don't fully react with oxygen, leaving behind tiny solid particles that glow yellow when heated. These glowing particles are what give the flame its characteristic color. And then there's the dancing part. Ever notice how a candle flame flickers and changes shape, almost like it's alive? This movement is caused by a combination of factors. The first is convection currents. Hot air rises and cold air sinks. So as the flame heats the air around it creates currents that flow upwards and then cool before sinking back down. These currents, along with the random movement of individual molecules, cause the flame to flicker and change shape. It's like a never-ending party for the molecules where everyone is invited and no one is staying still for long. Another factor contributing to the flame-s dance is the interaction between the burning wax and the oxygen in the air. As the hot wax vapor meets oxygen, it ignites, creating the visible flame. The balance between the amount of wax vapor and oxygen in the air determines the size and intensity of the flame. If there's more wax vapor, the flame will be bigger. If there's more oxygen, the flame will burn brighter. This dynamic interplay between fuel and oxygen, along with the effects of convection currents, creates the mesmerizing dance we see in a candle flame. But wait! There's more to a candle's dance than meets the eye. Ever noticed how the flame seems to have different sections? There's the inner blue zone, then the yellow part we already talked about, and sometimes even a faint outer ring. These different zones represent different temperatures and chemical processes happening within the flame. The innermost blue zone is the hottest part of the flame, reaching temperatures of around 1400 degrees Celsius. Here, the fuel is burning completely, meaning all the wax molecules are reacting with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. This is why the blue zone is almost colorless. There aren't many glowing particles here to give it a yellow hue. Moving outwards, we hit the yellow zone where things get a bit smoky. Because the wax isn't burning completely, the yellow zone is cooler than the blue zone, with temperatures ranging from 800 to 1200 degrees Celsius. Finally, the outermost ring is the coolest part of the flame, receiving the least amount of heat from the burning wax. In this zone, the wax hasn't burned completely, so it mixes with oxygen and other compounds, creating complex organic molecules that emit light. This is why the outer ring might appear faint or even luminous. In a nutshell, a candle flame is a testament to the beauty and complexity of everyday occurrences. It's a delicate balance of fuel, oxygen and heat, resulting in a mesmerizing display of light and color. And while we might take candles for granted, they have played a significant role in human history. They have illuminated our homes, inspired artists, and even helped shape our world. So the next time you find yourself in a dimly lit room with a flickering candle nearby, take a moment to appreciate the quiet chemistry happening right before your eyes. It's a reminder that even the simplest things in life can hold extraordinary beauty and wonder. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the heart of a candle flame. Let us know in the comments below what you found most fascinating. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We've got lots more videos coming your way, so stay tuned for more updates. Thanks for watching. Have you ever noticed how even when there's no wind at all, flames always seem to dance and flicker? Why is it that a candle's light seems to tremble with an inner life? Could it be that even in stillness, something is always moving, shifting, breathing? Do flames perhaps remember that they are born of breath? That long ago someone held them in the palm of their hand, breathed life into them, and sent them forth from the darkness to become beacons in the night. And if so, what secrets do these silent witnesses hold in their flickering glow? What stories have been written in the patterns of their light? Welcome to The Tale of the Candle, a series that explores how light has shaped quiet lives. In this episode, we will light a candle and see what stories come to us from its dancing flame. Candles of memory, a single flame burning steadily in the darkness, casting dancing shadows on the walls, illuminating faces turned toward it, etched with a solemnity that only the softest glow can reveal. For candles are not just sources of light, but silent keepers of memory, each flicker a whisper from lives lived and loved ones lost. They stand vigil beside hospital beds where hope flickers like a fragile flame, marking time until dawn in silent prayer. On windowsills, they watch over sleeping children, warding off the dark and bringing dreams of faraway lands. On graves, they serve as somber beacons, guiding spirits home on All Souls Night or All Saints' Eve, when the veil between the worlds is said to be at its thinnest. The soft glow of a candle is a solemn companion in the house of mourning, lighting the way through the labyrinth of grief, offering solace to those who grieve. In every culture, across every faith and custom, there are rituals woven with the soft glow of candlelight that speak of lives lived, loved and lost. Some traditions use candles to honor the dead on the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, when families gather to welcome the spirits of their ancestors back to the world of the living. Ofrendas, or altars, are set up in homes and cemeteries, adorned with marigolds, sugar skulls, photos of the departed, and most importantly, candles. Each flickering flame is a silent prayer, a beacon guiding spirits towards their waiting loved ones. The soft glow illuminates tales of lives well lived, laughter echoing through the years, and memories cherished even in the face of death. The Jewish tradition of Yahrzeit also uses candles to honor the dead. Once a year on the anniversary of a loved one's death, a Yahrzeit candle is lit to commemorate their memory. These candles burn for 24 hours, sometimes placed on headstones or inside homes, their steady glow a symbol of enduring love and remembrance. In some communities, the lighting of a Yahrzeit candle is a communal event, bringing together generations as they share stories of the departed, keeping their memory alive through the spoken word and the flickering flame. In Ireland, the custom of leaving a candle burning for the dead on the windowsill during Halloween has its roots in the Celtic festival of Samhain. It was believed that on this night, the souls of the departed returned to their earthly homes. To guide them, families would leave a candle burning, a silent invitation to share in the warmth and light of the living. This tradition evolved, transforming into the modern practice of lighting a candle for departed loved ones, a simple yet profound way to honor their memory and connect with them across the veil of death. For many Christians, the use of candles is deeply rooted in the celebration of life and death, particularly during the Christian holiday season. Advent candles are used to mark the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, with each candle representing different virtues like hope, peace, and love. During the Christmas season, wreaths adorned with 5 candles are common, symbolizing the 5 points of the order, or the 5 wounds of Christ. As each candle is lit, prayers are spoken, reflecting on the journey of faith and the significance of Christ's sacrifice. The lighting of the Christ candle in the center serves as a reminder of Christ's birth and the hope he brings into the world. On All Saints' Eve, also known as Halloween, many Christians light candles and place them on their windowsills, transforming their homes into beacons for the souls of the departed. It's a tradition that blends ancient Celtic customs with Christian beliefs, honoring the dead while celebrating the triumph of light over darkness. One of the most evocative uses of candles in memory is the practice of lighting a memorial candle. These candles often burn for several days or even weeks, providing a continuous flame that symbolizes unwavering love and remembrance. Each flicker of the flame becomes a silent testament to a life lived, a connection to the past and a source of comfort in the present. Memorial candles are placed in homes, churches, or at gravesites, serving as a physical manifestation of the enduring bond between the living and the dead. Their soft glow offers a space for a quiet reflection, allowing loved ones to come together and share stories, laughter and tears in the comforting presence of an eternal flame. But the symbolism of candles goes beyond their simple use in religious practices. They find their way into everyday lives, becoming silent witnesses to moments both joyous and somber. On birthdays, candles adorn cakes, each one representing a year gone by and the hopes and dreams for the one to come. As the birthday person makes a wish and blows out the candles, they carry with them the weight of past experiences and the excitement of what lies ahead. During moments of quiet contemplation, people often turn to candles for solace and focus. In the stillness, the soft glow becomes a source of comfort, helping to quiet the noise of the world and bring clarity to troubled minds. Whether used in meditation, yoga, or simply during moments of reflection, candles offer a sense of grounding and tranquility. They provide a visual anchor, a steady flame amidst the ebb and flow of thoughts, allowing the mind to settle and find peace. Sometimes candles play a part in new beginnings, lighting the way forward in times of uncertainty or transition. When starting a new job, embarking on a journey, or making a significant life change, the act of lighting a candle can serve as a ritual of sorts, a way to acknowledge the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. The flame becomes a symbol of hope, illuminating the path forward and providing courage to face what lies beyond the darkness. And when it comes to saying goodbye, candles have long been used as symbols of farewell. As friends depart, lovers say their goodbyes or families prepare to part ways. A candle is often present to symbolize the ephemeral nature of time and the preciousness of the moment. The flickering flame serves as a reminder of the inevitable passage of time and the importance of cherishing the connections that bind us together. Perhaps it is this very understanding of life as fleeting moments that makes candles such powerful symbols in our rituals and routines. They remind us to cherish the present, honor the past, and embrace the future with open hearts and illuminated minds. So, the next time you see a candle's gentle glow, take a moment to appreciate its silent wisdom. Let its flickering flame inspire you to live each day to the fullest. Honor your loved ones and embrace the beauty of each new beginning and every fond farewell. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Tale of the Candle, which explores how light shapes quiet lives. If you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave us a comment below and let us know what tales you'd like to hear next from our series. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any new episodes. And may the light of 1,000 candles illuminate your path, guiding you towards a brighter tomorrow. It's time for an adventure in candlelight. Welcome to the series, The Tale of the Candle, How Light Shaped Quiet Lives. Each week we will explore how candles have affected the people and places in our past. We will travel through time and space with these humble creations that smell delicious, look amazing, and quite often don't burn down your house or anyone else's. In episode 12, we will look at the age of innovation when paraffin wax came to Europe and America. That meant cheap old candles could be made en masse. It also opened the door to colorful candles and scented candles. As well as this, the rise of the candlestick as a decorative object really took off in the late Victorian era. Before we get started, please like and subscribe so you can help us reach more history lovers around the world. Our community is growing and it would be lovely to have you join us. Our story begins in England, where the Southwick Candle Company was established in 1830 by James Southwick. His company and others began producing candles from paraffin oil, a byproduct of the gasification process. When oil lamps were introduced to Britain in the early 19th century, coal gas was produced, but there was no use for the remaining substance. After further research by James and his son Alfred, they found a way to refine paraffin and produce it in large quantities. This opened the doors for cheap oil candles to become a household item. These candles burned brighter and longer than wax candles, but had a dark secret. Paraffin was most likely contaminated with small amounts of benzene and other harmful chemicals. These carcinogens may have been released into the air while burning, which led to Southwick employees suffering from severe headaches. But this did not stop the growth of the industry. Soon factories were cropping up all over the United States and Europe making paraffin candles. By 1860, 40% of the world's output of kerosene was being used to make candles. This left a lot of room for experimentation. At first, most candles were just plain white, but later colors were added using a natural pigment called carotenes. Carotenes are water-insoluble pigments derived from plants, algae and some bacteria. They contain beta-carotene, which is also responsible for the orange color of carrots. Candles could now be colored orange, yellow, green, blue, red, and violet. This opened the door to candles being used not only as a source of light, but as a fashionable accessory. To enhance the appearance of the candles, many companies began adding scents. At first, essential oils were used, but later synthetic chemicals were developed to add smells such as lilac, lavender, and rose. Other odors were less pleasant and were often caused by impurities in the paraffin. Some candles had a sweet molasses odor, while others smelled like dirty socks. Sometimes the paraffin would turn rancid, emitting a horrible stench. Companies tried to combat this by adding denaturients to their candles, such as camphor and pyridine, which has a distinctive fishy odor. Despite these smells, candles remained a popular choice throughout the decades. People preferred them to lamps because they were cleaner and emitted less smoke. Not only were candles now available in an array of colors and smells, but they could also be molded into different shapes. By the 1860s, cylindrical candles were decorated with embossed patterns and flowers. The rise of the candlestick became very popular during the Victorian period. A candlestick is a simple device that holds and supports a candle. While they might seem basic today, they are actually an important part of the lighting experience. Before candlesticks, candles were simply placed on candelabras or held by someone. This led to dangerous situations, especially when people were trying to extinguish their candles. Candlesticks raised the flame away from flammable materials and allowed for more control over the lit candle. Early candlesticks were designed purely for function, but soon became objects of beauty and luxury. They were made from a variety of materials, including wood, metal, and even bone. During the Baroque period, candlesticks were highly ornamented and often included religious iconography. They were made from expensive materials such as silver and gold. During the Rococo period, candlesticks became smaller and were designed to resemble flowers or putti, which are chubby winged children. The French Revolution brought about a new style of candlestick. Instead of being highly ornamented, they were now more simplistic. Materials such as mahogany and ormolu, which is a gilded bronze, were used. During the Regency period, candlesticks were influenced by ancient Greek and Roman designs. They were often made from brass and had a simple design. The Victorian period saw a resurgence of ornament. Candlesticks were made from a variety of materials, including bronze, brass, iron, and steel. They were often designed in a variety of styles, including Gothic, Chinese, Japanese, Egyptian, Indian, and Moresque. Some were highly ornamented, while others were more simplistic. Materials such as marble and alabaster were also used. One of the most popular types of candlesticks during the Victorian period was the branch candlestick. These candlesticks were designed to resemble tree branches and often had a natural, rustic look. They were usually made from wood or metal and were often decorated with leaves and flowers. Another popular type of candlestick during this period was the sconce. A candlestick is a type of wall-mounted light fixture that holds and supports a candle. Sconces were often used in pairs and were designed to reflect light off of the walls, providing ambient lighting. They were usually made from metal and were often decorated with intricate designs. By the 1890s, the candlestick had become an important part of the home decor. It was no longer just a functional object, but a way to display one's personal style and taste. Some families would even pass down their candlesticks from generation to generation. Joseph Locke Dillman was a pioneer in the field of decorative arts. He was born in New York in 1838 and died in 1911. Throughout his career, he designed a wide range of objects, including furniture, lamps, and candlesticks. However, he is perhaps best known for his candlesticks. In the early 1860s, Dillman began experimenting with new materials and techniques in metalwork. He was inspired by the arts and crafts movement and began creating candlesticks that featured natural forms and textures. One of his most famous designs is the oak leaf candlestick. This candlestick is made from bronze and features a pair of oak leaves and acorns. The design is both elegant and naturalistic, capturing the beauty of the oak tree in a unique and innovative way. Dillman's candlesticks were highly successful, and he went on to design many more pieces featuring natural forms and textures. He was particularly drawn to the Japanese art and began incorporating their design principles into his work. This led to the creation of some of his most iconic pieces, such as the bamboo candlestick. This candlestick is made from gilt bronze and features a pair of bamboo stalks and leaves. The design is highly detailed and captures the delicate beauty of the bamboo plant. Throughout his career, Dillman's candlesticks were highly sought after by collectors, and today they are considered to be some of the finest examples of American decorative arts. They are highly valuable and can be found in major museums and private collections around the world. By the end of the 19th century, the candlestick had evolved from a simple functional object to a complex piece of art. It was no longer just a way to hold and support a candle, but a way to display one's personal style and taste. Candlesticks became more creative and innovative, featuring new materials, techniques, and designs. They were made in a variety of styles, including Gothic, Chinese, Japanese, Egyptian, Indian, and Moresque. Some were highly ornamented, while others were more simplistic. Materials such as marble and alabaster were also used. This was the age of innovation when paraffin wax came to Europe and America. That meant cheap oil candles could be made en masse. It also opened the door to colorful candles and scented candles. As well as this, the rise of the candlestick as a decorative object really took off in the late Victorian era. Next week, join us as we continue our journey through time and learn about how candles played a role in World War I. What role do you think candles might play? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like stories like these, check out our podcast, available on various platforms. Thanks for watching. When I was growing up in the early 2000s, we had these little tea light candles that we would use for our birthday cakes. And every year I would try to blow them out with my wish in mind and inevitably fail miserably. I'd end up getting smoke all over my face and then lighting my hair on fire, much to the amusement of my two older brothers who would probably be egging me on at this point. This is about as close as I ever got to actually using candles as a kid, as we would always switch to electric lights after my cake had been destroyed. And it's weird to think that just a few decades ago, candles were used every day to light the way for most people across the world. They were just an everyday thing. And today, we are going to explore how candles took over the world, but also how the world eventually moved on without them. This is the third episode in our series exploring the history of quiet technology, things that many of us take for granted today that have had a profound effect on how we live. You can find more details in the description below. It is hard to know exactly when people first came up with the idea of putting a flame on top of a house-like structure, but it doesn't really matter. It happened sometime before 2000 BC in ancient Egypt, and it changed life forever. These early candles would have looked very different to what we're used to today, though. Instead of being made from wax and string, they were made by dipping reeds into animal fat until they formed a sort of greasy candle. These would burn for around 4 hours, which was enough to light the way for those who were working late at night or reading late at night. But for most of human history, there wasn't much need to see in the dark. People would generally go to bed as soon as it got dark and would get up when it was light again. This would all change, though, during the Renaissance. As more and more people started to read at night and work into the evening, there was a demand for better lighting. Candles were able to meet this demand. In the 17th century, candle making became an industry and people would often make their own candles at home. It was expensive, but it was worth it if you could afford it. Having light in your house made you seem richer. If you visited someone's house and saw that they had candles, you would assume that they had money. But candles weren't just a status symbol. They were also useful. Before the days of electric lighting, candles were the best way to illuminate your home. And they would eventually become so popular that they even replaced oil lamps in most homes. Oil lamps were messy and dangerous, and they didn't give off that much light anyway. Candles were easier to use, safer, and gave off more light than oil lamps. So, it's not surprising that they quickly became the preferred method of lighting. But candles weren't perfect either. They smelled, they attracted bugs, and they cost a lot of money. They were still better than what came before, though. And as the centuries rolled on, candles would get better. People experimented with different types of wax to try and create a candle that burned brighter and lasted longer. Eventually, beeswax and spermaceti, a waxy substance found in sperm whales, became the go-to materials for candles. Spermatheca candles were said to burn brighter and longer than any other type of candle. They were so good that they were even used in street lamps. Despite this, candles still had one major flaw. They were expensive. There was a reason why only the rich were depicted with candles in paintings. For most people, candles were a luxury item. But that would all change in the 19th century. During the Industrial Revolution, new methods of production meant that candles could be made more cheaply than ever before. Suddenly, they were affordable for the average person. This was around the same time that gaslighting started to become popular, too. Gaslighting was invented in the late 18th century, and it quickly became a popular way to light streets and public buildings. And like candles, gaslights didn't produce any smoke or smell, but they did require a complex system of pipes and infrastructure to be installed. Because of this, gaslighting was never as widespread as candle lighting. Candles were cheaper and easier to use, and they could be taken with you on the go. For most people, candles were still the better option. That is, until the 20th century, when electricity became commonplace in most homes. Electricity was a game changer. It was cheap, easy to use, and could light up your entire house with the flick of a switch. For the first time, people didn't have to worry about lighting candles or oil lamps. They could just turn on the lights and go about their business. Overnight, it seemed, candles went from being a necessity to a novelty. Very quickly, candles went out of style. They were seen as old-fashioned and nobody wanted to be associated with them. Nowadays, most people only use them as part of a special occasion, like a birthday cake or a romantic dinner. And that's kind of sad. Candles have been round for thousands of years, and they've shaped our history in ways that we can't even imagine. They've allowed people to read at night, work at night, and even see each other's faces in the dark. They've been a part of our culture for so long that it is hard to imagine life without them. But despite their importance, candles have gone out of style. They've been replaced by modern lighting technologies that are cheaper, brighter, and more efficient. Today, candles are a relic of the past, a reminder of a time when lighting was a luxury good. So here's to you, candle. You may be old-fashioned, but you'll always have a place in my heart. Maybe that's a bit dramatic, but I do quite like candles. I don't really like the idea of using them as a source of light because I feel like that is a bit wasteful. But I do like the atmosphere that they create. There's something about the soft glow of candlelight that makes everything seem more relaxed and fun. If you're looking for a fun activity to do with friends or family, I highly recommend trying out candle making. It's a lot of fun and you can customize your candles to look however you want. There are lots of kits available online that can help you get started. Plus, once you've made your candles, you can use them to add some ambience to your home or give them as gifts to friends and family. It's a great way to spend an evening. Okay, I admit it. That last bit was me trying to monetize the content. I run a small business making decorative items from resin and I sell them on Etsy. I'm not going to link it here because this isn't an ad. But if you are interested in checking it out, it will be linked in the description below. I hope you enjoyed learning about the history of candles and how they've shaped our world. Next week we're going to be looking at zippers. They're everywhere, but how did they become so popular? If you want to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. In the grand tapestry of life, we humans have always sought solace in the smallest of things. And among the tiniest of these, the humble candle flame holds the unique place. For millennia, it's been more than just a source of light in our darkest hours. It's a beacon of hope, a silent confidant, and a timeless symbol of resilience in the face of life's storms. As we delve into the heart of this flickering wonder, we'll uncover stories that weave together history, science, culture, and personal experiences. Join me on this journey as we explore what makes the simple act of lighting a candle such a profound moment in our lives. 14. The last chapter. A flame that endures. So here we are at the final chapter of our exploration, where the tale of the candle reaches its twilight. In a world dominated by the brilliance of electric lights, one might wonder why the humble candle continues to hold a place in our lives. Why do we persist in keeping this ancient flame alive? What is it about these simple wax cylinders that continue to fascinate and endure? The answer lies in the quiet corners of our existence, in the moments when we seek solace and comfort in the midst of life's chaos. The candle flame, much like the hearth fire of our ancestors, serves as a focal point, a silent witness to our joys and sorrows. It provides a sense of warmth and security that transcends its literal purpose as a source of illumination. Lighting a candle is a ritual that grounds us in the present, anchoring our thoughts and diverting them from the incessant chatter of everyday life. The soft glow of candlelight creates an atmosphere of tranquility, allowing us to relax and unwind in the quiet of our own company or in the intimate embrace of loved ones. This simple act brings a sense of calm to our hectic lives, a moment of pause in the whirlwind of activity. Moreover, the candle flame has an enduring appeal because it mirrors the fragility and tenacity of life itself. Just as a candle's flame flickers and dances in the wind, our emotions, too, are subject to the whims of life's circumstances. The candle flame, with its delicate balance between stability and impermanence, serves as a potent metaphor for the human condition. It reminds us of the preciousness of each moment and the need to nurture our inner flame in the face of life as challenges. Throughout history, candles have been associated with spirituality and the afterlife. Their ethereal glow has inspired countless works of art and literature, capturing the essence of mystery and the sublime. The soft flickering shadows cast by candlelight evoke a sense of the transcendent, transporting us to realms beyond the mundane. In times of grief and remembrance, we often turn to candles to honor and remember those who have passed on. The lighting of a candle at a funeral or the placing of a candle on a grave serves as a symbolic gesture of our enduring love and respect. The flickering flame becomes a silent prayer, carrying our thoughts and emotions to the departed souls we hold dear. And let us not forget the role of the candle in celebration. When we gather to mark special occasions, whether it be a birthday, a wedding, or a holiday, candles take center stage. The age-old tradition of making a wish upon blowing out birthday candles reflects a deep-seated desire for hope and new beginnings. The soft glow of candlelight adds a touch of magic to these celebrations, making them all the more memorable. Even in the darkest of times, the candle flame offers a glimmer of hope. In times of crisis and uncertainty, when darkness seems to envelop our path, the simple act of lighting a candle can serve as a powerful metaphor for resilience. The unwavering flame amidst the darkness reminds us of our inner strength and our capacity to overcome adversity. Today, candles continue to play a vital role in various spiritual and religious practices. From the ancient rituals of yoga to the solemn ceremonies of the Catholic Mass, the humble candle stands as a beacon of faith and devotion. Its soft glow serves as a physical manifestation of the spiritual energy that binds us to our beliefs and traditions. The allure of candles lies not only in their historical significance and practical use, but also in their power to evoke emotions and create memories. The scent of a burning candle can transport us back to cherished moments in time, bringing a flood of emotions and associations. The flickering flame becomes a portal to the past, allowing us to relive precious memories and the feelings associated with them. One of the most captivating aspects of candles is their ability to create an intimate atmosphere, particularly in the realm of romance. The soft, even lighting provided by candlelight creates an ambience of privacy and warmth, making it ideal for romantic dinners. Cozy evenings by the fireplace or quiet moments shared between two people. Candles have long been associated with love, passion and sensuality, and for good reason. They provide a natural and inviting way to set the mood and enhance the emotional connection between individuals. For many of us, the ritual of lighting a candle has become a cherished part of our daily lives. Whether it be a moment of self-reflection, a peaceful bedtime routine, or a way to honor a special occasion, candles offer a comforting presence. The gentle crackle of the flame and the soothing flicker of light create a sense of calm and tranquility, allowing us to unwind and find solace in the simplicity of the moment. But why do we humans find such solace in this tiny flame? What is it about the gentle flicker and soft glow that resonates so deeply within us? The answer, my friends, lies in the very essence of the candle flame itself. It is a dance of life, a delicate balance between the elements of fire and wax. As the flame dances, it mesmerizes us with its beauty and fragility. We are drawn to its soft glow, which in some strange way reminds us of the fleeting nature of time and the preciousness of each moment. In the quiet solitude of our own company, we find comfort in the steady flicker of a candle. It becomes a companion of sorts, a silent witness to our thoughts and emotions. Some say that in the flickering shadows cast by the flame, they see the reflection of their own souls. It is as if the candle flame becomes a mirror, revealing the depths of our inner being. And let us not overlook the role of scent in our fascination with candles. The warm, inviting aroma that fills the air when a candle is lit has a magical effect on our senses. It creates a sense of nostalgia, transporting us to cherished memories and places filled with warmth and happiness. The scent of a burning candle becomes a signature of comfort and familiarity, enveloping us in a cocoon of pure relaxation. It is said that each flicker of a candle flame carries with it a whispered secret from the universe. These secrets, they tell us, hold the key to our desires, dreams, and aspiration. All we need to do is listen intently and with an open heart. Are you willing to hear the whispers of your soul? As we conclude our exploration of the enchanting world of candles, I encourage you to keep your own candle flame burning bright. Nurture the passions that light your inner fire and never stop believing in the magic that flickers within your heart. Thank you for joining me on this extraordinary adventure. And until we meet again, may your life be filled with warmth, light, and endless possibilities. Now, my friends, I invite you to keep the conversation going. Share your own stories and experiences with candles in the comments below. How have they touched your life? What memories do they evoke for you? Your stories have the power to inspire and connect us all through the language of light. So don't hesitate to light up the comments section with your thoughts and let us continue this enlightening discussion. Together, we can keep the flame of shared experiences burning brightly. And if you found this tale illuminating and would like to support us further, don't forget to show your support. Your support means the world to us and enables us to continue sharing these mesmerizing stories with you. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never lose your sense of wonder. The world is full of magic, and you are a part of it.